Hi, I'm Morgan. My boyfriend Harrison and I travel the world on a budget. Recently we traveled Europe for around 6 months, and most of the time we were house sitting. If you don't know what house sitting is, let me explain it really quickly. We use the website Trusted House Sitters, and you can go on there. People post listings for people to house sit for them. It's called house sitting, but you'll pretty much be pet sitting. That's why most of the people on Trusted House Sitters are there. They want somebody to watch their pet. Usually they're gone for a longer stretch of time. Their pets have a schedule they need to have followed, and usually it's a little too much to ask of just a friend or something, and they don't want to use a kennel, so they look for house sitters or pet sitters, and you can go and apply to the listings, and hopefully you'll get chosen as a house sitter. House sitting is pretty safe, at least through the website that we use it. You have to have a background check, they have to have a background check. Usually you will Skype before you ever even meet them. And yeah, it's definitely generally a pretty safe thing. Hi. Hello. 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 So obviously this is a pretty symbiotic deal. You, as the house sitter, you went out because you get a place to stay for free, which is one of the biggest costs of travel eliminated right there. And all you have to do is watch some animals, and if you're an animal lover, it's like the best of both worlds. You get a place to call home for a little bit. If you're doing long-term travel, it's very beneficial because you get a stable place, especially if you work while travel too. It's really good. So during our Euro trip, Harrison and I house sat around 7 or 8 times in 6 months, and it was fantastic. We met really nice people. We have friends all over the world now. We had some of the craziest experiences ever house sitting. We got to stay in the penthouse suite of this amazing hotel in Germany. We got to stay in the same room, no lie, that the Dalai Lama stayed in. We slept on the same bed as the Dalai Lama, presuming he used the bed. We had the craziest experiences. House sitting has really transformed the way we travel. Without doing something like that, we would have never been able to travel for so long. It's one of the things we're really grateful to be able to utilize in this day and age. It's really great. So that is the explanation of house sitting, and after singing all the praises of it, let's talk about our worst house sit ever. The context of this video that you clicked on. Before we get more into it, please hit subscribe and the bell button so you can see all our videos. You know the whole jam. If you like budget travel, we are the channel for you. So this happened during the last few months of our trip, and we wanted to go to London, and we found this London house sit. The people who posted this house sit, they were actually Americans, and they moved to London, and they had a little tiny adorable dog who we're going to be taking care of. I'm not even going to mention the breed or anything specific about these people at all. The pictures they posted of their flat were really nice and minimalistic, clean. Seemed like a nice place to hang out in London, and so obviously we applied. On Trusted House Sitters, you can see if people have house sat for them before, and if people have house sat for them, did those people leave reviews and what the reviews said. For these people, this American couple in London, they had 3 house sitters before, but none of them had left a review. So that should have been my first red flag, and I'll talk more about that towards the end. So they accepted us to be their house sitters, and I chatted with them. I offered to talk to them over Skype, but they didn't want to, which should have been another red flag, obviously. They really didn't say much in the time before the house sit. Usually Harrison and I like to build up some sort of rapport with the people we're going to house sit for. We try to talk to them, I don't know, get something of a little friendship going, at least talk to them a little bit, and they just were not very into conversation. But I didn't actually think too much of it at the time because, well, they named their dog after a video game, and they had what seemed to be pretty good gaming setup in their flat, so I thought maybe they're just like nerdy, introverted people, which is my type of people usually, so I didn't think too much about it. So time passes by, and it's time for us to actually go to London and start our house sit. So we arrived in London, and we were staying in an Airbnb just for one night because we were going to meet them during one day, and then they were going to leave the next day, and then we would like move in to start the house sit. So at this point, I have a little weird confession to make. I was actually like terrified of London, and I wasn't terrified or scared at all of any other places that we had been, but London in particular really freaked me out, and it's a ridiculous reason. It's an irrational fear. I was really scared of London because I was reading so much about the acid attacks in London, and I'm not going to talk about it at all. That's the most you're going to hear me mention about it. I was just reading into it a lot, scaring myself. It became an irrational fear. I know it's so unlikely that's ever going to happen to you, especially as a tourist. It's like, you know, lightning strike chances, but it's a rational fear for a reason. It was stupid, and I did get over it. I got over it very quickly, but for the first few nights, I was pretty scared to walk around London at night. So we were supposed to meet up with this American couple, the house sit people. I asked them if we could meet during the daytime, and they could only meet us apparently at 9 or 10 p.m. I was clearly not super happy about it. I told him about my fear, how I wasn't very comfortable walking at night because we would be walking to meet them. They didn't care at all. Do you mind? Hey, stop chewing your foot. Thank you. Anyway, but I sucked it up. We went to meet them. I kind of inferred that they were home and they could have met me earlier and didn't want to. We went to their flat and it was bad. It was bad. And when I say bad, I mean it was gross. But we'll talk more about that in a second. I didn't linger on the nastiness of their apartment too long when we first met them because we just came to meet them for a little bit and we were going to start our house at the next day. They said that, they were sorry for the mess and they were going to clean before we started our house sit. So I gave them the benefit of the doubt and hoped that was true. It seemed like really a lot to clean in like a couple hours, but maybe they would do it. So I didn't think too much about the gross apartment at that point. It was a couple. So the woman of the couple, she said something kind of odd. She was like, I'm sorry about the mess. My boyfriend's been here alone for the last couple of weeks and, it just got really messy, which struck me as something weird because this fit young guy, are you trying to suggest that he, is incapable of cleaning, especially when he has company over? So I kind of think that was just some strange excuse as to why the apartment looks like a war zone. But yeah, like I said, I didn't look around too much. I believed them that they would clean up for the next day. We met their dog, who was really cute. Then they showed us their lock, the lock on their door of the flat. They said that it was slowly breaking and it gives you a lot of trouble when you try to open it. Let me just reiterate that. They told us that their lock was slowly breaking. Yeah, just hold on to that information. We will come back to that. So on to more of our interaction. Our conversations, or lack thereof, before the house sit were really indicative of how it was with them in person. We definitely really didn't click with them at all. And my assumption that they were just going to be like these nerdy introverts was not true. They had very fancy, expensive clothes. In fact, they didn't give off the air that they were nerdy or shy. They gave off the air that they were better than us and they were snooty. And I know what I think when I hear other people's stories is sometimes, your impression isn't exactly true. And I just want to say, Harrison is somebody who, to be honest, doesn't pick up on a lot of nuance, and he's usually like, oh, everybody is super nice. And he even thought the same thing, that they just were not into trying to get to know us, trying to talk to us. Everything we said, they would brush off. They seemed to just feel like everything we said was kind of stupid and they were better than us. He agreed with me there. There's some stock, if not in my opinion, in Harrison's, because he is a very fair person who does not pick up on anything dramatic unless it's pretty significant. I'm not going to mention what their jobs are, but they're making decent money, let's just say that. Which is why it's kind of strange they're in this tiny, nasty flat, but from their jobs or any indication, they're making bank. So maybe that's why they thought they were a little better than us. I don't know, because we're just broke ass people who are, house sitting to stay in another country. So I don't know. I actually did try to explain to them a little more about my fear of the acid attacks and why I didn't really want to walk to them at 10 at night. And they said they had never heard of them and that I probably got that information off of something like The Onion. It was just fake news. And I was like, no, not really. It really happened. You just are completely unaware of what's going on around you in your country that you now live in. I wish they were fake, though. I wish it was part of The Onion. So that happened. We met them. It was alright. I had hope that the house it would be okay. Maybe we didn't click with them. Maybe their place was messy, but I believe that they would clean it up. And who cares? You don't click with everybody, right? Eventually we left and we walked to our Airbnb at 11 at night and got ready to go officially start our house sit the next day. So the next day we go to their apartment. Now they had given us keys the previous night, so we weren't going to meet them again that day. So we went to their apartment and remember how they said they were going to clean up? Yeah, that didn't happen, or at least not to the level of any sane human's idea of clean. I have never ever seen a more fucking disgusting apartment in my whole life. And I have friends who, when they were teenagers, a whole bunch of guy teenagers lived in this small space. Not one of those people cleaned that apartment that they were living in. And even their teenage guys, small space, nobody cleaning, their house that they shared was much cleaner than this couple's apartment in London. It was fucking disgusting. It was rancid. Rancid. I can't describe it. Let me paint a picture for you. They said they were going to clean up, and this is their idea of cleaning up. They had done the dishes, and they were laying there to dry, and all of their dishes had food on them. Like, I'm not exaggerating. All of their dishes, the forks, spoons, knives, everything, the plates, it still had food on them. So they had washed the dishes by maybe at most rinsing them under the faucet. And you know how I know for sure that they didn't actually clean those dishes? They didn't have a fucking sponge. They didn't own sponges or dish towels or any instrument of cleaning. I actually had to go and buy towels, buy sponges, buy things to clean their apartment. So I know for sure that they did not clean those dishes. None of their dishes in their apartment were clean. Nothing in there was clean. The floor was so matted with dog hair and dirt. It was like straw. The walls had stuff smeared on it. They had like mysterious stains and dirt and like fingerprints, like brown fingerprints just smudged on the walls. I'm not making this up. They had a washing machine in that apartment, but it was full of rust. The door was completely full of rust, so there's no way it's even like sanitary to use. On the bed, the mattress cover and the pillows, piss fucking yellow. It was so disgusting to me. That was the grossest shit. So the mattress cover and the pillows were completely yellow, but the sheets on top of them were not even clean. They didn't even wash their sheets before we came to house sit for them. My breaking point was when I saw the yellow mattress cover and pillows and everything. That was like the final straw for me, where I was like, this is unbelievable. For Harrison, it was something else. Up until that point, all of the things, the nasty floor, the walls covered with shit, the dishes not clean, the fact that there's nothing to clean anything, no sponges or anything, the rusty washing machine, the unwashed sheets, the yellow mattress cover and pillows, all that shit, he was like, you know what, this is really gross, but it's okay. But the thing that grossed him out the most was all of the surfaces in the kitchen were covered with inches of just sticky substance. Some thick, nasty, sticky, I don't know what. And you could just touch anything and get this sticky shit on your fingers. The table, all of the cabinets, the fridge, everything was like covered in that shit. That was like the nastiest point for Harrison, where he's like, yeah, this is bad. This is so fucking bad. And it was. Their idea of clean is not a regular human's idea of clean. It was just so sad to think, oh my god, I have to stay here for 2 weeks. So I immediately spent the first 2 days just scrubbing this place completely clean. I bought sponges and towels and everything that they didn't have to clean. I don't trust that anything here is clean. No fucking way. So I washed every single dish there. To even see the carpet itself, it took me vacuuming for hours. I scrubbed the walls. I cleaned the bathrooms. I dusted. I scrubbed really, really hard all of the surfaces in the kitchen. Those things were so coated with fucking sticky shit. I couldn't get rid of it. I scrubbed them so long and I couldn't get rid of like the residue that was there. They were cleaner, but still not like a normal person's idea of clean. I was not sleeping on that yellow shit on the mattress, so I took it off, and I found actually other sheets in their closet and like other pillows that were not yellow and nasty. I washed them. I took my chances on the fucking rust washer, but the thing is, they don't have a dryer, so I hung them to dry on the line, but they weren't going to be dry for like a day and a half, so that night I slept on the couch. So it was at this point that I realized the pictures on Trusted House Sitters of their apartment were completely not their apartment. The pictures online were a spacious, clean, beautiful apartment. All of the furniture was different than in the pictures on Trusted House Sitters, so it was clearly not the same place, or not the same time frame at least. I'm pretty sure the pictures they used were from the real estate agent who had listed that apartment for sale before they had got it to rent. It was not the same place that we thought we were going to be staying. As for the dog that we were taking care of, it was a cute dog, but it really didn't help things when it kept shitting on the floor and then immediately eating its own shit all the time. So, needless to say, that was a pretty rough introduction to London, and things just got worse. The next thing that went wrong was the very next day after we started the house sit, the light in the bathroom broke, and it wasn't just a light you can like get a light bulb and replace it. It was wired to the ceiling. We just didn't have a light in the bathroom for 2 weeks. It was a shitty apartment, and it was a shitty area of London too. The place was really, really soul draining to be in, and it made it difficult to want to explore London, to want to film. We couldn't wait to leave. Things got worse. So, remember how I mentioned that fucking lock, how they said their lock lock was slowly breaking. Well, they weren't lying. It broke. One night it broke. We were walking their dog, we came back, and the lock was broken and we couldn't get into the apartment. So we immediately messaged the house sit people who, by the way, they're on their own vacation in another country. They were somewhere, I'm not going to mention where, but they were far away from London. I messaged them right away that we couldn't get in. We had their dog with us and their dog hadn't had dinner yet and we needed to get inside. It was getting cold. It's like October, I think, at this point in London. So they respond really quickly right away, and they messaged their landlord. The landlord says that he can't get there until the next day, which doesn't help us at all. The house sit people, they said that we need to call a locksmith. I asked, could you please call the locksmith? Because we are in another country. I don't have Wi-Fi, so I'm using my data just to message them back and forth to figure this whole thing out. And it cost me money to call somebody in another country, as do most phone plans. By the way, they wanted us to call the locksmith to come and fix it, and then they would Venmo us the money for the locksmith. And I was kind of hoping they could just call a locksmith, pay them over the phone right then and there. They said, we can't call a locksmith. I'm so sorry. We are about to get on a plane. We're not going to have any signal to talk to you at all soon. This is really bad timing, and we're not going to have any access to internet or phone to call a locksmith. I was like, okay, so I'll figure out something, I guess. So we knocked on a neighbor's door. We were like, please, can we use your phone? Help us. The landlord had given 2 locksmith numbers to try to call. So the neighbors were really nice. They let us use their phone, and we tried to call those 2 numbers that the landlord had given. Both of those numbers didn't work. So the neighbors were nice enough to help us look up other locksmiths. And we called them on their phone, and the locksmith said they would be there within like an hour and a half. And we're like, okay, great. So we'll just wait it out, and he'll be here, and then this will be over. The neighbors who we had used their phone to call the locksmith, they left because they were about to go out to dinner. It was cold out, so we didn't want to wait outside for the locksmith with the dog and have the dog be cold. It's a tiny dog. We could get into the apartment building, just not their actual flat. So one of us would wait outside of the apartment building waiting for the locksmith. The other one of us would go with the dog, wait inside, and then we'd take turns. So that's what we did, and we waited for the locksmith to come. An hour went by, an hour and a half. 2 hours, 2.5, and at that point it became clear the locksmith is not fucking coming, and we don't know what happened, but they're not coming. It was just getting later and later. The dog still hadn't eaten. The people who we had asked to use their phones, they already left, so I had no choice but to just take the L, pay the fee, and use my phone to call a locksmith. I actually didn't even know what locksmith the neighbors had called, so I wanted to call the same one to ask them, where are you? But I didn't know who it was, so I used my data on my phone to look up a locksmith, and I called it, and it actually luckily turned out to be the same locksmith who our neighbors had called. And I was like, where are you? Been waiting here for so long. And they said they had showed up 2 hours ago, and they had called that number to make sure that they were still needed, and the people on the other side of the phone said that no, they didn't need the locksmith anymore. I don't know. It seems like they just made up this story so that the customer wouldn't be mad that they forgot to show up or something. It was very, very strange. I don't know why the neighbors would say that we didn't need a locksmith anymore. It doesn't seem right. So we're like, no, that didn't happen, and we've been waiting out in the cold with a dog. We need to get into the apartment as soon as possible. So like, okay, we're gonna come. And it took them like another, I don't know, hour, but they did eventually get there after we waited a long time again. So we got into the apartment. He gave them a new lock. Then it came time to pay him, and he only took cash, and we didn't have enough cash on us because we didn't expect to pay a huge locksmith fee. He was a really nice locksmith, so he actually drove Harrison to an ATM nearby, and Harrison took out the money. But the thing about that is that Bank of America, every time that we take out money from Bank of America in an ATM abroad, it costs like $10 every time you take money out. And the sum that he had to take out of the ATM was a large amount, and Bank of America wasn't letting Harrison take out the full amount, so he had to take it out in 2 smaller increments, meaning he had to pay $20 to get the money out of the ATM to pay this locksmith. So I've already got a bill for using my phone to call in Europe. I used my data. Harrison had to pay $20 just to get money out of the ATM for this locksmith. We're spending our own money to fix this problem, but it did get fixed, and the dog's inside eating dinner in the warmth. They got a new lock, so that got fixed. I messaged the house sit people, the couple we were house sitting for, right away, thinking they wouldn't respond for a while because they're on a plane, right? They responded right away, and we're like, oh great, blah blah. And I'm like, you just told me that you couldn't call a locksmith for us or help us look one up or help us at all because you're about to jump on a plane and you wouldn't have Wi-Fi or data or anything. That was complete fucking bullshit. I could see their status on WhatsApp. They were online the whole time. They were online for hours after that. They were not going on a fucking plane that day. What I think happened is because they were in another country as well, it would probably cost them something to call a locksmith in London. So they didn't want to spend their phone bill money on a call to London to figure it out. So they just let me spend my money on my phone to call a locksmith in London. Maybe it's that, or maybe they just were, I don't know, sipping fucking margaritas and couldn't be bothered to help the people who are watching their dog. I don't know, but whatever it was, they chose not to help us. We had to spend our own money and just deal with this fucking bullshit that is not our responsibility to have dealt with. And that's the thing, it's not our responsibility to do these things. It's not our responsibility to clean their apartment just to make it livable. It's not our responsibility to have to figure out the situation with the lock on their door and have to get it fixed for them. They knew that lock was about to break and that there was the possibility that it would break during the time we were there taking care of their dog. They should have figured that out before they left. And they knew their apartment was fucking nasty. That's why they kept apologizing for it. But yet they didn't even bother cleaning it, besides the dishes, which clearly weren't even clean at all. They just lumped their shit onto us. So they did actually pay us back for the locksmith, but they didn't pay Harrison back for the $20 he had to spend to take money out from the ATM, which he wouldn't have had to spend otherwise. We had enough cash to last us for the rest of our time in London. We weren't going to need to use an ATM again. So he only did that for them, and they didn't pay me back for the money that I had to spend for my cell phone company to call in London. They paid us for the locksmith, but not for the other shit we had to spend for them. So we did eventually leave that house sit, and we moved on to a different house sit in London, which was just worlds better. We did get to have a wonderful house sit in London with really nice people and really cute animals and a great part of London, a very clean apartment. We finally, we got to enjoy London. We got to be in a good space. We got to restart. Let's talk about some ways that this could have been avoided. So first off, if you're using trusted house sitters, just make sure the sits you're applying for, if they've had people sit for them before, that they've left reviews, and obviously that they're good reviews, because it is a red flag if people have house sit before, like our people. They had 3 house sitters before and none of them had left a review. Clearly that is a red flag, because there's no real reason why someone wouldn't leave a review unless they, had a bad time and they just don't want to put those people on blast. And obviously if they had left bad reviews, that's clearly a red flag as well. Avoid those. Second, you should always try to video chat with the people you're going to be house sitting for. If they refuse it, that should be a clear sign that they're not the people you should be interacting with, because they have something to hide. Like in our case, clearly they didn't want to show the disgusting place that they lived in, because it's nothing like the pictures that they had on the website. The third thing to look out for is if something about them just really puts you off, it just doesn't seem right, and no matter how much you try to kind of get over that, maybe you try to video chat with them, you try to talk to them, but something just feels wrong, they're just not reciprocating conversation in a normal way or something, that's probably a sign that things maybe are a little off, and try your best to figure it out with them. Even if you do that and things still just don't feel right, just trust your gut. You don't want to be stuck in a bad situation. This house sit completely sucked, but it was a total outlier. This is an exception to the rule. Like I said earlier, we've done 7 or 8 house sits, and every single one of them, besides this one, has been amazing. Like I said, we've made friends all over the world. Some of the sweetest, nicest, most generous, genuinely caring people we've met through house sitting. We have just great memories of these wonderful people and wonderful pets. We will continue to house sit as long as we can. This one bad experience is definitely not going to stop us. Actually, check out our other house sitting videos. You can see how great we had it. Like, seriously, much better than we would have ever if we were just traveling in like normal hotels or something. So check out our videos. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed me spilling the tea on our worst house sit ever. Please hit subscribe. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. We do have a Patreon and a merch store down below. Thanks for watching. Bye!